Hello, it's Bob Cooke here from the Manchester Institute for Psychotherapy, and I have Rory Lees-Oakes, who is a counsellor tutor at Warrington Collegiate College, and we're going to talk about placements, psychotherapy placements for students and counselling placements for students at his college and also at mine, that's the Institute, but also generally about placements, how we get them, what they are, the fears that often drive people to worry about placements and how they're going to be, and the anxiousness and the usefulness of them all. So over to you, Rory. Tell me a little bit how it works at your college.
Well, like most colleges, we certainly at practice level, we ask people to go and find a placement to do the 100 hours of training. And we have connections with charities and organisations that, as part of their bigger remit, offer counselling. And it's always kind of an anxiety with learners about finding a placement, so much so that I've actually written a book called How to Survive Counselling Training.
Oh wow, Rory, great.
Yes, so maybe we'll put a link.
Yeah, sure.
Put a link in there, that'll be great, and then it could be downloaded. Yeah. But yes, counselling placements, and it always seems to be, of all the worries that learners have when they first engage in counselling, finding a placement is usually the biggest one, because placements are competitive, and also we live in a world where a lot of charities are cutting back on their placement activities. So you do it in a slightly different way, don't you? Because as a private training provider, you've kind of got a unique way of doing it, Bob.
Yeah, I'll be interested in what you're saying in a minute. I'll just say how it works at our place. We train people with transactional analyst psychotherapists, and for them to get their qualification, a diploma through here, but also to go on to be a European certified transactional analyst and UKCP accredited psychotherapist, they need to do more than 100 hours. In terms of clinical contact hours, they need to do things like 400.
Wow.
If it's UKCP, and 700 if it's the European CTA, or is it 600 with the psychiatric placement, I think. So we encourage people very early on, from the end of their second year, they have to pass something called the Clinical Competencies Endorsement Program, where they practice their skills and their competencies before we allow them to go on, if you like, to work clinically. But once they've done that, from the second year onwards, well, really probably Christmas time of the second year onwards, they can start seeing clients under supervision. And we really do encourage them early on, because they've got to get all these training hours in to get their UKCP accreditation. And what we did as well was create a low-cost clinic placement here. So people have to do they have to do a minimum of 20 hours as part of our diploma. They have to do a low-cost clinic placement voluntary, where we give them 2 clients, which you have to work with for at least 6 months as part of the Manchester Institute diploma. But also they start privately to see clients from the third year on. So they're starting to get their website, they're starting to advertise, we help them of course in the area of supervision for their private clients. So it's a sort of integrated process of a placement, voluntary and private clients from the third year on with supervision.
Yeah, and I think it just highlights the difference between different training providers, and to clear up this for people who are watching who may think, Bob's talking about 600, Roy's talking about 100, it can be confusing. Basically, there are many overviewing bodies in counselling and psychotherapy. There's the BACP, there's the UKCP, there's the Counselling Society, there's just loads of them,
Well, the 2 major regulating bodies, as far as I can think, is the United Kingdom Council of Psychotherapy, which is the natural home for psychotherapists.
Yes.
And then there's the British Association Counselling Psychotherapy, which I see as a natural home for counsellors and as counselling is your area of expertise, you may disagree with me there, but do you see it that way?
Pretty much so. And different training courses have different hours, but just to clear that up, most people who do a counselling course, certainly at a college, would do 100 hours placement, and then they would go on to become accredited with the BACP with another 450 hours.
There's the difference.
There's the difference.
There's the difference, yeah.
And so you, Bob, you provide, because where we are here, it may not be kind of noticeable from the camera angle, but it's quite a big building, isn't it? It's a very big building. How many rooms do you have here?
The Manchester Studio is 4 floors, 12 rooms, and a big training room.
Yes, which we're in. It's hard to see, but it's a big training room. So you would provide low-cost placements for...
Yeah, the third year here, staff a placement, and so we assess, that's the Manchester Institute, assess people for low-cost therapy, and by October we've got about 20 to 30 people who have been assessed for low-cost therapy, and each person does a placement of at least a minimum of 20 hours, but as they're seeing 2 clients, it's usually getting off 40 hours for 6 months, which gives them a clinical placement, voluntary. But alongside that, they're starting their private clinical life, so they're building up clients because they're working towards these 500, 400 hours clinical hours, which they need for UK CPA accreditation. The placement is part of the Manchester Institute diploma requirements.
Yes.
It's just like the 100 hours, if I've got this right, is part of the
awarding body that we do.
Yeah.
We operate with.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting idea, isn't it? That in fact there's lots of different. There's no one training organisation or one training pathway that learners can go on.
And many of the psychotherapy training institutes don't actually have built in a placement.
No, yours is unique, Bob.
In the psychotherapy world, it is.
It is absolutely unique. I took a little bit to even get a head around it because it hadn't ever come across that before.
No, you see, in the training world, psychotherapy training world, they're encouraged very early on by the training organisation to start seeing clients privately with supervision. But there's not a placement built in. Now, in the counselling world, the awarding bodies ask for a placement.
They do.
And you see, whereas we give the low-cost placements, they're staffed, I can really understand the anxiety and fear of counselling courses, students in the scramble for placements. And with the recession, with the reduction in the public sector in terms of charities, etc., etc., there's less placements. Is that true?
Well,
or not?
Well, our experience has been is that we've built up some really good connections with placement providers. So,
give me some examples of placement providers.
Well, we have quite a wide range. I always encourage learners to consider what their passion is, where they're passionate.
That's good. So do you mean places like Mind?
Mind. We have people at drug rehabilitation areas. I'll give some shameless plugs. CRI, which is a big organisation that is in the recovery world for people in recovery from substance misuse. So we have a good connection with them. So hi to you guys.
And that's where they'll go and practice their counselling skills.
Yes, they will. Yes. So there's always a qualified counsellor on the premises, and we supply, as you do, what we call a letter of comfort or a fitness to practice letter. So we observe what we get our learners to do is we tape them doing a session, then we upload that to our virtual learning environment at the college, which is a private, secure area.
What is the virtual learning?
It's a web page. It's basically a educational web page, for want of a better phrase, and then what happens is they then listen to their own tape and they make a comment on it, they reflect on it. We get them to write 500 words.
So you have a lot of video.
So, well, we use a lot of audio. We record them. The reason for that is video is very big, so we have trouble loading it up.
Oh, it's audio?
It's audio, yes, yeah. So, so that's how we do it, and then we produce a fitness to practice letter, which we then give to learners to go and take to their placements.
Yeah, it's interesting is because when we do our clinical competencies, they have to, on their second year, usually by the end of it, they do a role play.
Yes.
With obviously with a client. That's one of the trainees. I mean.
Yes.
Not a real client.
No.
On the course, and the tutor has to really be secure that the person has delivered their competencies.
Absolutely.
Now, listening to you, I've thought this for a long time. Well, say the last 4 or 5 years anyway. Is, maybe I need to move to videoing.
Yes.
That actual experiential. It's just that you've got that whole balance between de-skilling them through videoing or maybe and learning. But it's an interesting one.
It is. Well, we use tape. We get people old-fashioned expression now. We voice recorders, and then we load the voice, the MP3 up onto the college website.
Yeah,
I don't want to give people the
impression.
I don't want to give people the impression that anybody can listen. It's only the learners.
It's a virtual learning.
It's a virtual learning environment. It's a secure area.
Yeah, we haven't got that.
And people can look. People they then play them back, and they do a reflection on them. 500 word reflection, and then if we're happy with what they've written and we're happy with what they've
they can go into placement.
Yeah, we issue a letter of comfort, a fitness to practice letter, and that then goes out to the placement, so they're confident that
so
we're
that's
confident.
A similar route for us into low cost clinic.
Effectively, yes.
And one thing, and I'm sure it's the same at your place in terms of placements, is that they get supervised.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Everybody has. We have a checklist. So you have to see your supervisor first. You cannot just do your placement and then say, "I'll go and find a supervisor." So everybody goes and gets a supervisor first, and then everybody gets their insurance and their membership of the BACP. It's all in position before they go.
And I think that's really important in terms of protection.
Absolutely.
And I think that's very, very good. One thing, as you talk about placements, just so I can be a bit more clear, am I right in saying there's a lot of anxiety about, from your students about being able to get placements?
Yes, there is. It's always a kind of archetypal anxiety. It may not be founded in reality, although we have had some people who struggled, but everybody eventually gets a placement.
Yes, I'm sure do. And I was thinking as you were talking about this, and there's a truth in a recession that there's always going to be lack of money, not lack of placement. So some placements might as well, but also it's a distraction maybe away from maybe their psychological not feeling so confident because they've then got to be in the real clinical world of seeing clients.
It is. I don't think I'm qualified to comment if it's a distraction, but I think there's a lot of things that students have to learn very quickly.
Yes, absolutely.
And they come away from doing skills to working with real clients.
Big difference, you see. I think it's a big step.
It's a big step, and that's why we have to be sure that the people who join us can kind of handle that massive change. It was a huge change when I did it. It was a big difference from working with a peer on the course who knew the rules to working with someone in distress. It's a huge jump, isn't it?
It is, but you know what? It is where they start really learning.
Absolutely.
If they can do the job, and if they want to do the job, and it's their profession.
Yes.
What a big step.
Yes, and that's the real world. And I always say to my learners, it's not a place for wallflowers.
That's true.
It's not a place for wallflowers. You have to, and the expectations. A lot of the third sector now, all of the third sector, are businesses. The charities are businesses. They have people who fund them. They're responsible to the general public, and they want the people who work with them to think about it as a job. Gone are the days where people would say, well, I'm just a volunteer. That's not good enough. You're part of the team, even if you're not being paid. Funnily enough, I got an email from a learner who downloaded my book and was thanking me and saying that she hadn't realised that actually a lot of the placement providers are looking for people who will uphold the values of the organisation.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of ethics.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
interesting. It's interesting when you talk about placements, and I when I offered the low cost clinic, there were several ideas that drove it.
Yes.
One, to provide accessibility for the public and people who couldn't afford therapy. So average therapy is about £40 to £50, so you can come here and have an hour's therapy at the low cost clinic for £15.
Wow.
So that was one thing that drove it. Another one was to have a voluntary placement for the actual students.
Sure.
To cut their teeth.
Yes.
To get the confidence.
Yes.
To give them an experience away from books, to start to be able to do this.
Yes.
So it was a win-win situation.
Yes.
So it's a placement which was very successful. It's just been researched. Karen Gilbert did a lot of work on this. Karen Burke, sorry, a lot of work, and we researched the whole efficacy of the low-cost clinic. I hope other institutes actually follow. But as I talked about placements, I can really see the importance of them.
Yes.
In many ways.
Yeah. And I always say that volunteering is the oil that lubricates the wheels of society. You can't underestimate those people who give. I still volunteer for an hour a week. Right. I still volunteer for an hour a week at the school I counsel at. I give an hour of my time, and I would say that it does make the world go around. Especially in these times. So it's a great thing.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, I guess, Bob, in finding out how to survive counselling training, then I'll put a link in, and you can download my book and I'll give you some hints and tips. But if you go into Bob's place, it looks like you've got it all sewn up, really.
Well, we've got the placement, which is very successful for 30 years when you do it, and I'm a great advocate of placements.
Yes,
because people can start cutting their teeth and
yeah.
giving something back.
Absolutely.
As well as learning.
Absolutely.
It's almost like the old apprentice journeyman style.
Yes.
Where you can learn on the job in a way.
Yes. Yes.
But we know with supervision and proper competency. So I'm an advocate for placements. Okay, so thank you very much. That was really, really interesting, learning about the different placements and the psychological, I'll say distress feelings about the move from books to practicing.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. And thank you to you.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.